Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvine. We have been doing this amazing series all around the brain science of success. And some of the experts and doctors that I've been bringing on maybe weren't exactly what you originally thought about when you thought about the brain science of success. We've had breathing experts, we've had neurotropics and neurohacking experts, we've had trauma experts, and we've had scientists that are definitely neurohacking success in the brain science of success. I am excited about today's guest. Today's guest is Jacquelyn Umof, or she's known as Action Jacquelyn online. She is, I know she's known for being a yoga person and somebody with an amazing app that you can download and follow fitness with her. But what I know her as is the ultimate guru that helps you connect your mind and body. And what I see so often, and I lived this for literally most of my entrepreneur years, is a disconnection between mind and body. We're always going, dreaming in the head. Do you know what I mean? In the head. And what Jacquelyn brings to this conversation is that it's not mind and body connection, it's a mind-body connection. And when you start to marry those two into one thing, your success skyrockets because you're building your success from a grounded place. And we talk in the interview about how so many entrepreneurs are out there putting all the flashy shingles and the bling on their house of entrepreneurship, yet in the house it's empty and there's no foundation. And person after person after person that builds like that isn't around 2 years later. And I don't want that for you. So Jacquelyn and I talk about that connection, how to ground into your body. We talk a lot about the gut connection and how all of that plays together for building a successful person that can pour from a full cup. So if you're pouring from an empty cup right now and just hoping that something works, this interview is for you. All right, let's jump into the interview. Here's Jacquelyn Umof. Jacquelyn, welcome to the program. I'm so excited to finally have you on.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. I'm really excited to connect with you, talk with your audience, everything. So it's going to be fun.
I was talking in the intro about the Stretchy Fit app and how it's been a lifesaver, a game changer for me personally, especially through the last season. If you're listening to this later, we are in the COVID world right now. So we got locked down from March until today, which is, we're still in lockdown, but it's September now. And I don't know what I would have done without the Stretchy Fit app. And so I'm so grateful that you have that app, you know, this total at-home system for fitness and yoga that it's helped me so much physically, yes, but I would say mentally even more, because I knew that I could always come to the mat with you and just be grounded. And I'm just curious how the mind-body connection works. We've been in this series all around the brain science of success. And as you know, listeners to the podcast are people like you, super high achievers, people that are going for big things, big dreams, big visions. And we have seen it time and time again. I know we talked about it at an event where we tend to put ourselves last, right? We tend to put ourselves in I'll get to that when I'm done creating this dream, or when I'm done surfing, or when I'm done doing all these big vision things. And, my personal story, because I've shared it with you, I was doing that to my detriment, and my adrenals started failing and really broke down. So
are you a 3 Enneagram?
Oh, I'm a 3. I am
am I.
Poster child. I know. I can totally do it. My son is a 3 too. Did you know that?
What? Oh, he is?
Yeah, totally. It cracks me up because it's like so easy to be in the room with you and with Pat, because it's like, oh yeah, I get you. You don't even have to finish that sentence. I totally get it.
That
but
is so funny.
I would love for you to talk a little bit about that disconnection that happens. Mm-hmm. And why paying attention to the body and your pursuit of the dream is important.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, like, I'm so happy that the Stretchy Fit app was so helpful to you, because I designed it in a way where, there's a few things that are necessary besides just the workouts, right? The workouts, I think, is just almost like a small part of it. But it's really like the things that help people be successful in their workout routine is to stay accountable, number one. And, I do that through the calendars. You have a workout every single day that you just follow. Two is having a community, having support, having that positive like reinforcement and seeing other people do it. And I get inspired. I'll go into my community or Facebook group and see them doing a workout. And I'm like, I'm feeling a little lazy. And I'm like, okay, wait, I gotta they're doing the workout. Like I gotta work out too, so it's always helpful to have like that motivation around you. And then third, you gotta enjoy it, so I switch up the workouts. We do bar, yoga, Pilates, HIIT, even sometimes dance, cardio, mobility. It's like we do everything. So it's like there's just something always new. So it's very easy to get engaged, right? Because if we're not engaged, then we're bored and we're unmotivated and we don't see progress. Yeah. I mean, as far as like feeling disconnected to your body and finding that connection is huge, because really like we tend to dissociate it like mind and body, but really it's the mind body. And our emotions get stored into our bodies. And so many times people will be doing a stretch, and they release these emotions that are literally stored inside the cells. And, it's like when you're going so much and you finally allow yourself to just breathe, to actually allow breath to come into the body, to slow down, the body gets to pause, then you can release a lot of these emotions that are being stored in the body. And it can feel maybe a bit scary for some people if they don't ever really go there. But then other times it can feel very releasing and euphoric and, just transformational. Like you can let go of that inside of your body. And so, feeling really connected to your body also helps, to remove anxiety out. Because when you can feel, it's like, one of the quickest ways to get out of anxiety is to use your senses, notice what you see, feel, hear, taste, all the senses, all the five senses. Yeah. And so yoga does a really good job, maybe not so much taste, but there's a lot going on as far as your senses where you can really feel into your body. You feel the floor, you notice your surrounding. And so it grounds you very quickly and helps that anxiety to go away. So yeah, it's really powerful in that way.
And it's really interesting too, because in brain priming, we use senses and depth of sensory field to actually create a neural network that you can create in automation. So I love that you're talking about this, because thoughts are energy and energy stores in the body and it gets stuck. Now you talked about breath work. We had Brian McKenzie on, which was a real powerful conversation all around breath and how breath gets stuck. And he was a real powerful interview. Jacquelyn actually was my first reach out when I knew I had a massive brain body disconnect. And I don't know if you remember this, but this was when my dad had a stroke. I was in the middle of a launch or an affiliate launch, and was in the hospital with him for a lot of days. And then I came back home, and I literally remember saying to myself, all of this is on my shoulders. And my daughter's in the bathroom, and I've been away from her for a week or so. And so I was just listening to her and talking to her, and I felt like physically disconnected. And I went to go do a side plank, and my vertebrae pulled out.
Yes, I remember this.
You remember that? And the first thing Jacquelyn said to me was like, there's emotion stored in there, and first of all, you got to breathe. She sent me a meditation that I actually listened to that helps so much. But I could literally instinctively, I could feel the emotion getting trapped in this part of my body. Mm-hmm. And it's just so powerful. We talk about the words, the stories we tell ourselves, but even those momentary stories through anxiety, I was tense, I was tight, I was doing this, right? That whole time. and the emotion of feeling like I was responsible for everything. And then going and trying to use my body without warming up, without doing any of the things to be gentle with my body. Right. I put my body in a compromised state. And I know, Jacquelyn was able to like kind of walk me through the steps to release it. But if there's a listener right now and they're in the conversation of anxiety, or they're in the conversation of things being hard, or they're in the conversation of, I don't know how, or I'm struggling, and all of that, what would you say are the first steps for them to start to put the two halves together, to start to truly, I love the way you say that, create the mind-body connection? It's one thing. It's not mind, body. And I think so many of us, we stay in our heads, right? And in the chaos and in the belief patterns that we don't want to even have, but we stay there. And then we wonder why our body suffers, right? So what would you say to that person that really knows they're listening to this and they're completely disconnected?
Yeah, it is a trauma response, to feel that disconnection, because we have inputs, we have ways in which we, our messaging centers, and those messaging inputs can become overloaded, and they often become overloaded. And especially if you find yourself saying, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, that's like you feeling that all of these messaging input centers are basically just at their max capacity. And we do have a max capacity on these things. And eventually then what happens, you break down, and you feel worn, you literally feel fatigued, you feel tired, you feel all of these things. You can't make a decision quickly or efficiently, you have brain fog. So a good way to do that is, and you're probably in your sympathetic, so your nervous system. So you have a central nervous system, which has the sympathetic, and then you have the parasympathetic. Sympathetic is the fight and flight, where you're very stressed. And so you're operating on your primal instincts. And sometimes those primal instincts aren't serving you. They're habits that you've learned, from when you were a child, and they're not habits that are going to serve you. So you want to get into a place where you're in your parasympathetic and you're, the rest and digest, where the body is literally flowing with blood flow. Which is why when you're tense and stressed, you can actually, you feel tightness, because sometimes blood flow stops, or oxygen stops, because you're short of breath, your thoughts are so rapid, you're tired, you're fatigued. So it all makes sense when you put like the brain and the body together like that. And when you move into your parasympathetic and you breathe, you actually just allow the oxygen to move through the body, and it sometimes will immediately just release some of that tension that you're feeling. But I would say first off, allow yourself to just rest a bit. You have to like rest your mind. It can be very simple. Like, it doesn't have to be a yoga class. It could be a very slow walk, or just sitting in the sunshine. Like, that's one of my favorite things, is just getting into the sun and breathing, slowing down your breath, noticing. It's all, again, the senses, like getting yourself into a place of awareness, knowing what your thoughts are, and knowing that at any moment you can change your thoughts. And that at any moment, things can turn around, or whatever it may be for yourself, but making sure that you slow yourself down with breathing, meditation. It can even, it's not meditation, but it's just a beautiful song. Like, there are some songs that I can listen to, and there's no way that you can't get uplifted. You hear it and it's like, it's just, oh my gosh, I just feel amazing. So just having those tools in your back pocket for you to always have handy, and just be equipped, because we're going to get stressed again. There's going to be something chaotic that happens, or something that we don't want to have happen to us that happens. And so our job is to equip ourselves of how can we manage this when it comes again, because we know it's going to. And then we manage our thoughts and the things that we tell ourselves. What do we say to ourselves about ourselves? What is it that we tell ourselves of who we are and how we operate in the world? And have those, and it always sounds so cheesy, but have those mantras ready. Like, for me, one of my most powerful mantras is saying that I am accepted, I'm chosen, I'm wanted, I'm needed. And for some reason, those words to me, when I say that, I like immediately feel better. I'm like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
So I went off on a little tangent there, but yeah.
It's good because, and of course my tribe knows that that's what we're talking about a lot, is training your thinking so that you actually can create the thoughts that are going to create the life that you want. But it's this connection or reconnection. Because when we're born, I think about this a lot. When we're born, we are so connected, mind, body. You know, we are like born and we're like, okay, this doesn't feel good. Blah, you know, so it's like, we're so connected. I want food. Like I emote, right? And it's like this, we're totally intertwined. And then over time, stress, expectations, things in the world, beliefs, all of that starts this disconnecting process. And
yeah,
as you ground more, and one of the things that I love, that you don't just stop at this, mind-body connection, but you get the fact that when somebody is under a massive amount of stress, even their digestion and things in their gut start changing, and that microbiome starts changing. And I know you have a program that you walk people through called Heal My Gut, right? And
yeah,
I would love for you to help my listeners understand, like, how are we going to talking from like a workout app to my gut? Like, this is where I really want you, if you're listening, to start to see how integrated we are. And that's what I love about what Jacquelyn does, is there's this integration. It's not just doing yoga, right? It's not just working out. It's not just meditation. It's not just brain priming if you're in my community. It's not just, you know, using the My Matrix to remove those thoughts, but it's this holistic approach. And I know what I'll see, and I know what happened to me is the more stressed you are, the more disconnected you are, the more your eating and habits change to help you feel something, right? And then all of a sudden your digestion slows down because the thoughts that you think actually create the stress hormone response, and that stress hormone response affects your digestion. I know at one point I went to a naturopathic doctor and she's like, you're not digesting your food at all. Like it's like, I was so in the sympathetic that my food was barely digesting. Crazy. So I know the power of healing my gut, and I know the power of like being aware of what's coming in, not from a criticism place, not from a like, this is a good thing and this is a bad thing, but from a like, how can I nourish my body so that I give it the tools that it needs to actually give me the output of success that I'm after, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think, like you said, we have visceral reactions to things. Like when I get anxious, I mean, my stomach literally, I can just like feel acid buildup, or I get like a gurgly stomach. Anytime I've gotten really bad anxiety, I feel it in my stomach. Like I have that visceral reaction. I'm sure a lot of people listening can think of a time that they were, you know, imagine a time that they were feeling stressed or feeling something and they felt something that happened in their body, but also in their gut where they're having that reaction. And so, yeah, in my program, Heal My Gut, it's holistically resetting your body to a healthy weight, understanding what foods could be causing the bloating in the first place. Because I struggled with bloating and digestive issues for a very long time, to the point of just, I was getting hemorrhoids, I was getting cystic acne caused from hormonal imbalance. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, your gut, or people are, you know, gaining weight and they're not able to lose weight. You know, a lot of people are trying to lose weight by just starving themselves, which for some people it could work, but for others it might not, because their hormones are so out of whack. And then at that point, they feel like at a loss, right? And especially as we get older, your metabolism does start to slow down. But my whole goal with this was like actually helping people understand this about their bodies, knowing which foods they can, which foods are going to actually fuel them and be nutritious for their bodies, to help balance their hormones, to relieve the gut from that constant inflammation. But then, yeah, on top of that, the mental aspect of this program is huge. You know, having meditations, telling themselves that they fuel themselves with foods that are nutrient or nutritious for them, that they don't depend on food to make themselves happy, that they don't need the food to fill themselves up, to ask themselves those kinds of questions of like, what am I really hungry for right now? Is a very powerful question, because many times we are eating to fill a void. And it's like, well, how, why, what's that void? Where can I fulfill myself instead of using food as a crutch to do that, or what is it in my life that I haven't created yet that I would like to, or maybe I never did get to do it. And maybe that's where I'm trying to fill it up or create it in an avenue through a different mechanism. So very interesting, when you go through this. So this isn't just like your average, like, here's a diet plan and starve yourself and let's like hope for the best by the end. And, and then you like gain it all back and all that other stuff. It's like you said, it's very holistic. It's about creating sustainable changes and habits. And again, getting to know yourself and your thoughts. Maybe you never thought that you were eating to fill a void, or that you were triggered. Like for me, one of my eating triggers is like socializing. It's like, yeah. I can't socialize and not eat like all the junk food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? I'm someone who really likes to challenge myself. And I'm like, why am I dependent? Why is this connected? Why does this have to be this way? And I don't like to feel dependent on anything. So I'll challenge myself of like, becoming dependent of it and seeing if I can do it, or like what happens when I try to do that, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's why like a few times a year, I'll even like remove coffee out of my diet, because that's like the ultimate challenge for myself.
Yeah.
But it's crazy when you actually detach yourself from these things that you think you need, and you do it. And then you realize, oh wait, I didn't die. I'm still alive. I'm still surviving. I can do this, so it actually gives you the confidence to take on more challenges like that. So yeah, I'm all about everything coming together as one, like, with the mind, body. And then of course in my program too, we do yoga, and we do a lot of that connection into the body to help ground you, to help become aware of your thoughts, to slow down, to feel your body, to appreciate your body, to have that. I think the groundedness is huge, because we have so much coming at us all the time, that we're in overload all the time.
Yeah.
And this allows you to actually, like you taught me that, right? Like the 3 times you can get into your subconscious mind is right when you wake up, after you work out, and before bed. Yeah. So that's a really powerful time to, repattern your thoughts when you're moving, because the body gets overloaded. And that's why it accesses the subconscious mind. So it's a great time to reprogram yourself, to journal, things like that. So it's very powerful.
So I hope as you're listening to us, what I've hoped through this whole Brain Science of Success series is to help heal back this notion that it's like all or nothing, that there's this one missing piece. And I love listening to Jacquelyn talk, because it's this layering, right? It's this layering of thought, and it's this layering of connection, and it's this layering of like, what am I nourishing with? And it's the thoughts about what I'm nourishing with. Now, I know for a while we were talking about this before, where I'm a wine geek. Like, I love wine. I don't love to drink wine necessarily. Like, I don't ever have more than one, but I love, like, I collected for a while. I took a sommelier exam. Like, I really do love wine.
Oh, wow. You actually took the exam?
Yeah. Because
you would. You would. Like, you're 3.
I'm like, I love wine. Must do it too.
I must go to the nth degree of learning everything I possibly can. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So but same thing. I'm like, wow, I need to make sure that there's no dependencies. And so you could think of that as a weight thing. You could think of that as a physical thing, but you could also think of that as a thought thing, right? It's like, well, I'm the creator of my thoughts, and my thoughts create my reality. It creates my body. It creates my mind. It creates everything in layers, right? So we were talking before we went live together, and I was talking about what, the experience I had in this last launch that I just did. And I had this vision of creating a launch that I showed up in a certain way, and it was 10 times the way I've showed up to now. And I knew that was going to need me to be at my best physically, mentally, socially, spiritually, like all areas needed to be firing in order for me to do that well. And so I was eating really clean. I always kind of do, but I said, you know what, during this launch period, I'm done. I'm not going to have a glass of wine. Like, I'm going to remove that so that I can prove to my own self that there's not a dependency on the ritual of it. Because it was never about I'd have 2 or 3 steps and I'd be done. So it really wasn't about that. It was more about the ritual of things and why am I doing things? Because trust me, it was always like, okay, I'm done with work. That's the first thing I would do. So there was a trigger, right? So if that was French fries, it would have been a different outcome, right? It would be totally different. And so I want everybody to be thinking about like how we're so intricate and layered, right? And how there are dependencies, thought dependencies, physical dependencies, what you're putting in your body. When Jacquelyn, when you're working with, high achieving people that, because I know you work with those who have integration, let's call it, and then those who have dissociation, where they're like, I'm in my healthy person state, now I'm going to go be in my work state, and they don't understand that those things actually coexist. And then you have a group of people you work with that are very connected and integrated. Tell my listeners like the difference you see in those two groups in terms of their ability to be successful.
That's an interesting question. I think as far as like what people who are dissociated, like what's missing from them from being successful is that it's almost like you could buy into your own BS easier, because I believe like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Amen.
But if you're doing one thing and it's like, oh, well, it's just because it's like, I'm not good with food or whatever. I'm not good with, writing. So I'm just going to kind of, be sloppy with that. But this I really care about, so I'm going to put more attention to it, or this is easier for me, or whatever it is that you're doing. But that's a dissociation, and that's being short-sighted, and that's not looking at the full picture, because like I said, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when you take a step back, like I always like to say, like zoom out, you see how you're cutting yourself short if you're dissociating yourself from that and thinking like, like a lot of you're probably having a lot of false beliefs about yourself that aren't true, or limiting beliefs, like saying, oh, I'm like, some women say like, I'm really, really addicted to sugar, or I have a sweet tooth. I have a really bad sweet tooth, so I could never do that. And it's like, well, we all have sweet tooth. Like we all are addicted to sugar if we allow ourselves to, but it's like having this false belief that like you're different in that way. So you're going to like kind of cut yourself loose, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, and so you're probably having like some false beliefs about yourself somewhere. Yeah. And so that's where like having a coach or someone is helpful to, point out your blind spots, because we all have them. I mean, I definitely have like so many blind spots.
Yeah.
And then, so people who are integrated, they're, as far as them being successful, it's because they'll take a blind spot in one area and say, okay, where else can I apply this to in my life? Or they see themselves falling short someplace. Maybe they're always late, or maybe whatever it is, it's like, okay, well, where else do I see this showing up in my life? Yeah. And that's always such a powerful question. And it's always about, it's not about, punishing yourself or judging yourself, criticizing yourself. It's always about just asking those empowering questions. Where else does this show up in my life? What can I do about it now? And asking yourself these empowering questions and not putting so much meaning around it. Yeah. Because I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. And I still have to remind myself of like, if I'm falling short someplace as what I consider to be falling short, I don't make it mean that then I'm a loser everywhere or whatever is going on in my brain.
Why should I do this? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think having that integration allows you to really connect the dots, because many times our life shows up in patterns. I really learned this when it came to dating, when the same guy kept showing up over and over again with a different face, probably same color hair, but a different face, but it was like the same guy. And I'm like, why is this same guy? Okay. By the 5th time, you're like, okay, something's going on. And then you ask yourself, what is the lesson that I get to learn here? Yeah. What is it that I get to learn that I haven't learned yet? Because the same guy keeps showing up.
Yeah.
And if he's going to continue to show up until I learn this lesson.
I'm getting this lesson so he doesn't show up anymore.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't see it yourself. And like, I would have to ask friends and family, like, what is it? Like, what am I missing? You know, what's happening? Why does this keep happening? You know, instead of being like, oh, I'm, you know, unlovable, where that's where you make it mean that you are, you know, less than, that you're making it mean something that it's not, instead of like taking the empowering approach. And it's like, okay, what do I get to learn here so that this guy doesn't show up again? You know?
Yeah.
But life comes in patterns. And I think when you're integrated, you can start to see the patterns and the connections, and you're able to, I think, coach yourself better out of things. And you're able to like ask yourself and move out of it quickly and grow very quickly that way too.
And how do you see people really being connected from the food all the way down to how they're moving their body, making that integration come quicker?
What do you mean, like making that integration come quicker?
Meaning like, you know, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'll notice the pattern, like you're saying, of somebody who really, really wants to build a successful business, and they're following all the right steps, the right guru steps that they've been told. And yet in other areas of their life, like they're not eating well, they're not moving their body, but they're expecting success in this area, but yet they're not honoring themselves in the areas that are their foundation. I feel like your work is like the foundation, and people want to build the house with all the bling. That's the successful entrepreneurial whatever. And I've seen this in the 4+ years now I've been online. I've seen this so often that people will want to build the thing, and they'll put all the flashy stuff, and you're watching them and you see the Lamborghinis and the things, and you're like, wow, they're really doing well. But behind the scenes, they're how they do one thing is how they're doing everything. So behind the scenes, they're not honoring their body. They're not honoring their health. They're not honoring those things. And it all crumbles because of the weight of what trying to be something that is on the surface, it's not really who you are. And so I'd love for you to like talk about how getting that foundation, like getting your gut in a place where it is dialed in, and getting your movement in a place that's right for you, not like the latest hit, whatever, just that's right for you, how that can kind of build like this deep structure for you to move into your success or move into that new business or whatever, new venture.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with your intention too behind the workout. So ignoring your body and your health, I mean, that's going to catch up with you, you know, at some day, unfortunately. Like, and I think I always say, you know, like sometimes vanity is the best motivator, and it'll, you know, if you want to look good, use that as a motivation. But it's like, don't mistake the intention behind it, right? That's where we can get caught up. Like for me, you know, you were a dancer, I was a dancer. You can get caught up in obsessing over, you know, looking perfect, trying to be as thin as possible for all the vanity. So for me, it was like I was very much into that because I was a ballerina and I was constantly being scrutinized for every millimeter on my body. But like changing the intention now from that to my intention is to take care of my body. And if you're ignoring your body and you're disconnecting from it and you're not allowing yourself to actually like develop healthy habits, you know, you want to just look at that. Like, why am I ignoring that? Why is that? Why do I think there's always some belief in there that either, you know, you don't believe that you deserve it all, right? Like maybe you don't believe that you deserve the huge mansion and the body of your dreams. And it's like, oh, that's too much, right? Maybe you've decided to just choose one. You're like, well, I'm going to choose a banging career. But I don't think there's no way I could have that and, you know, a healthy body or the trim, whatever body that you want in your mind. So it could be, maybe there's an underlying belief in there, and just asking yourself, again, those empowering questions, like, is that something that I believe? If you find some sort of resistance towards it, ask yourself, why am I resisting it? Why am I resisting, you know, taking care of myself? You know, the more the more I built up my self-worth and my self-respect, my healthy habits got a lot easier to keep, because I felt worthy of taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And I realized before it was a self-worth conversation of not feeling like I really either deserved to take the time for myself, and all of that time should be spent, hustling and working, because maybe in my mind, it's like, if I'm not uber successful, then I'm going to be forgotten about, or I'm not going to be worthy or respected. And so it all has to do with your individual beliefs. And so I realized the more I really dove into my own self-worth, I noticed my workouts got a lot less intense, and I allowed myself to just like go on a walk one day instead of like it had to be a run, So I lessened the reins on things for myself. And interestingly enough, I didn't gain all this weight, because I was like the fear of like, well, then I'm going to gain all the weight. And so I didn't gain all the weight like I thought I was. Like, again, it's just trying those things and then notice that like, okay, I didn't die, or I didn't gain all the weight. But allowing, like, with the intention to be that I'm doing this for myself, for my health, for my longevity, the bigger picture of all those things. And then also, as your self-worth goes up, I think you will allow more time for yourself to take care of yourself, to slow down a bit, especially if you're someone like us, like high performance, where we're like, go, go, go. You will really give yourself that time and space, because you realize that you're worth it. You realize that you're worth just pausing a second and focusing on, right? Even just journaling about yourself, just taking the attention out, because we're so outwardly focused on performance and creating and doing and achieving. Then it's like, okay, well, what's going on inside here? For me, it caught up where I started to get anxiety and panic attacks, and I was forced to slow down. Like your neck, it forced you. The body will usually grab hold of you and say, we are stopping, and so it's a blessing in disguise. And so it'll say, so listen to those signals and say, okay, it's time for me to slow down. And there's a discernment, right? And that's me. There's a discernment between saying, okay, today's the day I need to rest, and today's the day I'm going to push myself a bit and give myself a little kick in the butt. So again, that's where yoga helps with being able to discern that, slowing down, knowing yourself and having that awareness around it.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. I want to wrap up here with, if this is really relevant, and I know everybody's going to be messaging me saying, that's me. So if that's you, and like you're listening to us and you're like, oh, I needed to hear this today. First of all, let us know that on socials, tag us and let us know. But I would love for you, Jacquelyn, to share, like, what's one thing, the dreaded one thing, right? But what's the one thing that somebody today could start doing that could start to get all this moving in the right direction, moving in a direction that will ultimately have them really well integrated and connected as a mind-body unit?
I would say, one simple thing is like, don't watch TV at night.
Oh,
I know that's like a big one.
So good.
I don't even have a TV, because it's like, if it's there, I'm going to watch it. Yeah. And it's so colorful and bright and fun. And, so it's like, if it's there, it's hard. Our brains are going to want it. It's so enticing. But because I noticed when my nighttime routine changed, my whole next day, because everyone talks about a morning routine, but honestly, it's about the night routine, because the night determines the morning. And so just changing up your night routine, I think will be huge, whether it's just like a 5-minute stretch, or that's what I love showing, or listening to a meditation. I know you have meditations, but doing that at night is huge, because that will, determine how you sleep and how you wake up and how your whole next day starts. And so I think removing TV out, do not watch anything scary, stressful, news, anything like that the night before, because you're just programming your mind. Yep. And your mind will just be, wired all night. But, I think something very simple like that is good. And to ground yourself, go on the ground and, lay down and listen to the meditation, or do a few stretches. something like that to really connect yourself and breathe deeply into your body. Like, it's so powerful to just stretch like that. I got a DM. That's where I was pulling up my phone, because someone just sent me this, like, such a powerful DM where she said, she's doing my splits program and she has PTSD, and all the movement and breathing has been a game changer. It's almost training my body to realize that even though it feels like fight or flight or freeze sometimes, in the stretch, I feel really safe and grounded. So I was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking.
No, that just shows like how something so simple. We think it's like, let's do this huge program, when in essence, it's these simple little things that when you do them, they bring life. And then when they bring life, you want more life. And then so you keep it going. I would love for you to share how people can connect with you. I am going to tell you, I'm not an affiliate for Jacquelyn, but I'm telling you, get Stretchy Fit app, because it is powerful. But tell people where they can get the app, where they can get, connect with you, so that maybe they can get the Heal My Gut program, or just connect with you on social so they can start to fall in love with the work that you do.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Action Jacquelyn, YouTube, Action Jacquelyn. I'm super active in my DMs, as you can see. So if you ever want to DM me, I'm there. But yeah, my program is the Stretchy Fit app. So it's in, Apple or Android. And then the Heal My Gut program, you can actually just go to healmygut.com and check out all the tons of information there about it. And yeah, so I would love to connect with you.
All right. So if this interview has just hit right at that perfect spot in your heart, and you were like, thank you, I needed this so much today, make sure you just reach out to us on socials. We'll link everything in the show notes on how to get to us on socials, and just tell us what stood out to you today, because one of my intentions for this entire series was for amazing people that have big dreams and visions out in the world to start to know that they have everything that they need within them to be and create and have the life that they want. We've been indoctrinated into this outside in that I have to get it from somewhere else. But with people like Jacquelyn walking alongside of you and myself, just helping you to see that the greatness is in you, and it's just been covered up with a lot of things that do not belong there. And Jacquelyn, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, and thank you for your work in the world. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I hope, if this resonated with you, I look forward to connecting with you. And just like you said, remember that all of your power is within, and the power is being present in the moment, engaged, and amazing things are in store for you. So I love that.
Awesome. Wow, what an amazing interview. Thank you, Jacquelyn, for coming on to the show. All the links are in the show notes down below to connect with Jacquelyn and her Get Stretchy Fit app. I do recommend it. I'm not an affiliate. I love that app so much. It is a powerful, powerful daily go-to for me. My desire for you is just inch yourself just 1 inch closer to that integration. Don't feel like what our society tells you, where you've got to do it all at once and somehow, make this perfection. Just take that little step, whether it's turning off the TV at night, whether it's getting the Get Stretchy Fit app, whether it's doing a brain priming. One step each and every day in consistency toward building that foundation that allows you to create the success that you've been dreaming about from the inside out. It truly is an inner game. It is personal development on steroids, and all of you gets to get developed, not just your business. I hope this blessed you. Please let us know on socials. Tag me at Dr. Shannon Irvine, and tag Jacquelyn as well, and let us know your biggest takeaway. And until next week, this has been the Epic Success Podcast. Bye for now.